Hey everybody, welcome back. And we're talking about DC Comics today because, well, they're doing this, okay? They're doing this. And all right, let's talk about it. This is like an anthology series, 8 separate stories. I don't know if you would say that they're like 100% canon to whatever's going on in DC Comics, but I'm pretty sure they're meant to take place within that same universe. Now, the big one is the story of Robin and Superboy, the Supersons, meeting together after school and talking about non-binaries and gender identity and how that relates to violence. And it's completely fucking pointless. And I want to be very clear. It has literally nothing to do with the rest of the anthology. It's like these characters were put on a bench and just had a discussion about what non-binary people are. Okay, and this is the Supersons comic. It's kind of absurd and ridiculous. But I had the Bounty into Comics article. And I want to read through that because it's by Spencer, and I'm starting to really like his articles. But I saw comicbook.com talk about it. Now, comicbook.com is traditionally a shill site, and they were like, oh, it's delightful and disappointing. And I'm like, okay, all right, so what did you like about it, and what did you find disappointing about it? And I was surprised because they actually pointed it out. They actually called it out. Here we go, back to school. Now, and when I say they called it out, I mean, they still liked the agenda, they still liked the message, but they straight up said, it's got nothing to do with the story, why'd you include it? This Super Sons reunion is an after-school special in the truest sense of that term, as it uses didactic language, I'm probably saying that wrong, embedded in the mouths of familiar characters in order to inform and instruct. The focus of this particular set of lessons is critical in American schools today as they address the issue of gender identity and how it relates to violence. That doesn't empower the story it tells. However, because nothing about these characters or their situations reads as authentic, perhaps this will provide some benefit if freely distributed for educational purposes, but it doesn't offer much artistic value to readers. Okay, thank you. All right, look, I might completely disagree with distributing this in schools for kids because I think you actually need to, provide kids with quality entertainment like, we had growing up. But also, I mean, they flat out say it, right? Including it in the story literally had no artistic value. It literally has nothing to do with the story. And the situation the characters are being put in and the way they're talking doesn't read authentic at all. But it's there only for the purpose of educating the reader on what a non-binary person is. I mean, that is literally it. It amazes me that we still get into these talks about representation within media, specifically for like the LGBT community, when we have like stuff like this, forced into a comic where it does not in any way relate to the story at all. It's like a complete diversion. But I mean, like, to top it all off, we have, was it just recently they made Batman bisexual? Tim Drake's now bisexual. Superman's son is gay. They made Vixen. I don't know if they made Vixen bisexual or just like an outright lesbian. I can't remember. But I was reading those panels. Gosh, can I find them? Let me put them up on the screen. Yeah, so I was reading this and I was like, oh my goodness, what the hell is this? And it's like, Vixen's relationship with her new girlfriend, and they're going to go on a double date with Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy. And then I got to like the last part of this person's tweet, and oh my fucking goodness, it's a self-insert of the writer of the story. Like, it's actually fucking hilarious in a way. Well, a new story featuring the original child-aged incarnations of the Supersons was lauded as a major selling point for DC's recently released Saved by the Bell Reeve comic. The pair's return centered not on their relationship or plot lines, but rather their introduction to the education on the concept of non-binary identities. Yeah, okay. Supersons was actually, when they announced this for DC, I actually thought it was a pretty interesting idea. You know, if you want to get younger readers, you know, back into comics, I mean, yes, like Kid Superboy and Kid Robin is definitely a good way of doing that, right? I mean, it's Batman and Superman as kids. You could kind of like phrase it like that, especially with the way Damian acts like a fucking twerp. But instead, you know, they just used it as an opportunity to get people hyped and excited, and they never had any intention of actually giving us a reason to be hyped or excited for. Hitting shelves on August 31st, the punnily titled one-shot presents one-shot feature present. God damn, that was awful. That Spencer, terrible writing. Readers with an anthology of school-themed stories set across the DCU, such as one wherein the Suicide Squad must pose as educators in order to protect a politician's son, another which sees Batgirl and Nightwing ambushed by Mr. Freeze on prom night, and a new Gotham Academy chapter. As noted above, one particular story which sparked anticipation for the issue was a new tale featuring John Kent and Damian Wayne as penned by original series writer and concept creator Peter J. Tomasi, which was set to debut within its pages. However, little did readers know the story would focus on a new addition to their social circle rather than a titular offspring of the world's finest. Yeah. Titled Back to School, the story follows John and Damian as they return from summer break and start their first day on a new school year at the West Reeve Academy, named after the iconic actors who portrayed the Dark Knight. Actually, that look. I'll say this. Putting in the West Reeve Academy, that is definitely a nice little nod to Adam West and Christopher Reeve. I can respect that. Eventually making it to their set lunch break of the year, the two take notice of a new pink-haired student sitting alone in the cafeteria. We will call them non-binary person, or they are a non-binary person. Wishing to extend a warm welcome, John moves to invite the new kid over to eat with him and his friends. However, before he can even get out of his seat, the lone student has a tray of food dumped on them by a pair of bullies. You know, I'm just gonna be like real with everybody. Yes, when I was growing up, if there was somebody who was androgynous as all fuck and would not tell you what their gender was and went around with pink hair, they probably would have been bullied. But I went to school in like the early 2000s. It's quite literally 2022, and I hate doing the current year shit. But dude, it's like literally current year. If you did this in school, you'd be expelled immediately. You would be expelled immediately. Well, I mean, let's not even pretend it's okay to say bad words to people that identify as part of the LGBT in today's society. Yes, I'm sorry. I don't know who needs to hear this. I don't know who's not completely aware of this. But if you identify as a member of the LGBT, then you have pure protection from everybody. And well, yes, I will fully admit, bullies will still exist, right? The treatment of those bullies by, you know, like teachers and its staff and things of that nature. I mean, bro, how many times do we see a college classroom that's like littered with pride flags and such? I've seen videos of kids being like kicked out of class because they argued that non-binary wasn't an actual thing. But like, I saw a kid literally sitting down and saying that there were only two genders. That is what I believe, and was thrown out of class after getting into a pissing match with his teacher that refused to accept what the kid was saying. So just in general, this idea that right now, today, or even 2 years ago, or even 4 years ago, or even like, let's say like 5-6 years ago, that schools would tolerate this type of bullying, especially a fancy private academy where Bruce Wayne sends his goddamn son. I'm just saying, it's not very believable, fuckers. Rescued from further trouble by John and Damian before in turn pulling them away from a potential fistfight, the new kid proceeds to introduce themselves to their pair. Without prompting from either of them, reveals that they identify as non-binary. Yeah, actually, I love this scene. I really do, because it's What this character serves literally no other purpose other than their identity. I usually this is you don't write characters, even one note characters. You really shouldn't write this way, but this is representation at its finest, apparently. Last year, I changed my name to Sydney, explains the Coast City transfer. I felt the name my parents gave me was locked into a traditional gender that I really didn't feel was who I am. I'm non-binary. It should be noted that there are no clues, visual or in text, given as to Sydney's birth gender. I mean, look, the thing is, it could just be a dude. It could just be a dude. It does get better. We got another image over here. So I mean, you can they put the panel on screen so you can see it, right? I still think you should have let us kick their butts. What's your name? Sydney. Well, Sydney, I'm John, and behind me is Damien, our resident defender of the realm. Thanks you guys for sticking up for me, but I definitely don't want anybody getting into trouble. Especially since I'm sure you've got some questions of your own. You yeah, man, I would never what kind that's a weird fucking way of opening up that conversation. That's fucking strange as hell. What about this? What does that mean? It means that some people feel like they're a mix of both genders, while others feel like they identify with either gender. And then, it goes into using their pronouns. Okay, all right. Now Damien's gonna teach non-binary one-note character how to beat up the bullies. Oh, and non-binary person explains to him how fighting is wrong because it leads to more fighting. Good, educate Damien. He's a bitch. Okay, and this is what I mean about this. Okay, here's my problem with this comic, right? Beyond the fact that I just find it hilarious. I'm really trying to figure out if they're trying to give you a real world situation, in which case we're supposed to react with real world opinions on it, and I would assume so because this dialogue is purely just, I mean, it is purely just agenda-driven content, right? I'm here to tell you all about non-binary people and how they're bullied and how they use their pronouns. But then the bullying doesn't make any sense. You're at this rich private academy. You got kids with fucking brooms, and they're smacking people in the face with them based on their gender identity. Bro, no, that just doesn't happen in current year anymore. I mean, not with fucking Superboy, who could super speed and remove the broom from the bully's hand before they could even get it over to non-binary person one-note character. And then of course it ends with non-binary one-note character punching the bully because he deserves it. He deserves it. Let's be honest, right? He actually wait. She punched the wrong guy. I'm going to say she now because the irrationality is more akin to being a woman. She punched the wrong guy. Look, see? This is the one that mops her head. This is the guy with the brown hair over here. And then brown hair guy is the one that's on the floor because he got punched. You're right. Okay, you're not non-binary. You're just a woman and you're irrational as fuck. Okay, guys, let's move on to the next story.